Alright, boys and girls, now that we've studied the basics of why bees and flowers work together for pollination, we're going to look more in depth at the how. We're going to study the parts that make it possible. Alright, on your desk you should find two diagrams. One will be of the honeybee, and one will be of a flower. We are going to begin by looking at the honeybee diagram. On here, you will see multiple arrows and places for you to be writing. What do you know about the parts of the honeybee? What parts on this do you think you know already? Alex. Yes, they have wings and a stinger. Perfect. Who else? Jasmine. Good. They have antennas. Alright, anyone else? Alright, let's take a look at this picture that I've provided. Alright, so we are right, they have wings, a stinger, and antennas. Good. They also have a tongue. What do you guys think they use the tongue for? Carmen. Good, yes, to get nectar from the flowers. Perfect. And what do you think that this is over here? Anyone? This is called the pollen basket. What do you think that's for? Alex. To put pollen in, right? That's why it's called the pollen basket. Good job. Yes, the pollen, so when they land on the flowers, the pollen sticks to the bee's legs and fills this pollen basket. And while they're also drinking nectar with their tongue. They do this so they can take it back to their hive to feed all the bees there. And they also collect the pollen to bring to flowers for pollination. Good. Okay, set that one aside for right now and take out your flower diagram. Alright, the flower diagram is a little trickier. What do you think you know about flowers? What parts do you guys know? Sarah. Okay. Good, yeah. The pink is the petals. We have the green leaves. Does anyone else think they know what any of the stuff on the inside might be? Carter. Okay, that's a good guess. What do you think if the bee lands on the flower, what does the bee do again when he lands on the flower? Yes, he gets nectar and pollen. Yes, thank you, Alex. Nectar and pollen. So nectar and pollen has to be in here somewhere, huh? All right, well, let's figure that out. Looking at our diagram, there are two main parts of the flower. Just like we have boys and girls in the classroom, the flower has a male and female part to it. On the left here is the female part called the pistil. On the right, we have the male part called the stamen. The female part has three smaller parts. First, we have the stigma, which is here in the middle. The style is this long column, and the ovary is the circle at the bottom. So when a bee has pollen and he takes it to the flower, he drops it off on the stigma. It goes down the style like a tube, and it goes into the ovary, which is where seeds are made. On the other side, when we have the stamen, this is where pollen is stored. So at the top is called the anthers, the yellow part, and the filament is the green stem on the bottom. So when the bee flies to the flower and collects nectar, which is stored in all different parts of the flower. Nectar doesn't have a specific part, it depends what flower you're at. So when the bee is getting nectar, he also picks up pollen from the stamens. When he flies to the new flower and collects nectar, he drops the pollen off on the stigma. And then that is how the flower becomes pollinated. Anyone have any questions? Alright, we can go to our next slide. So this is just a little bit more about how honeybees pollinate. They come to the flower, collect the pollen, take it with them in their pollen baskets, and then they drop it off at the flowers while they collect nectar. Okay, now I want you to turn to your partners. And partner A, I want you to, using your new vocab words we've learned, I want you to tell your partner B just how bees pollinate flowers. So I want you to think about what they do when they first get to the flower, what they do when they leave the flower, and what they do when they get to the new flower. So think about that. Think about the steps they take. Try to use your new vocab we just learned. You can use your diagrams to help you. And once partner A is done telling partner B, I want you to switch. And partner B will say the same thing in your own words about the path that the bees take to pollinate flowers. All right, go ahead.